And with a new identity from the federal government, am I still the daughter of a terrorist? I was 3 years old when the federal government first approached my family to change our names. My mom was told my father was too dangerous to take to court, and without changing our names and shredding our past on all records of us, she would never be able to keep me alive. See, my father had a list of military personnel from various ranks in our living room, and he believed that these men were responsible for his forced decision of early retirement or dishonorable discharge after 17 years in the Canadian Air Force. And it was in this mood that he became more persistent to retaliate against them. He would make comments like, "Why do you think so many military helicopters crashed in the 80s?" And at times would say how easy it was to alter the mechanics. He said he was part of a team at the Trenton Air Force Base responsible for the overall mechanical safety of the helicopters before they were to be flown. He'd smirk when he explained that there had to be 2 signatures in the file that he handled to make sure everything was mechanically sound. But he said it was also very easy to modify. Years later, as Mom and I sat in Montreal with my half-sister, his older daughter, we were recalling the terror we lived through, and she said her dad would come home furious saying that the safety inspections of the aircraft were altered. And it would take a meeting years later with the lawyer who the government appointed to finalize our name changes that she said, "My father is a terrorist." The lawyer was terrified to find out that he's working at the Pickering nuclear power plant, and as she said, one button and it goes up. She said she was going to contact her friend, the then Premier of Ontario, Dalton McGuinty, to inform him of my father's employment, but he still remained employed. No one will address the concerns regarding my father discussing 2 bodies buried in Battersea, Ontario. The federal government won't investigate any missing persons from the Deseronto Reserve where my father would imply he stole his victims from. My mom and her legal advocate questioned this lawyer why she took it upon herself to remove any references of these bodies from my mom's affidavit after my mom had signed it. She stated it wasn't pertinent to her case. After this, my mom contacted the RCMP and City Police again. A background check was done on my father. A call to the federal government was made. Both detachments found it suddenly wasn't necessary to investigate. So Steve Blaney, our public safety minister, has done absolutely nothing to help. He's called Mom and they've spoken in depth about how the federal government interfered. It was during this call he was determined Mom go public and told us to be the voice for the women and children that Harper's government had forgotten. When Blaney started to say a name, the line went dead. A shaken Blaney phoned back 20 minutes later saying he would not be able to help us let the public know what happened to the backside of Parliament. So why does Harper's government actually need Bill C-51? The federal government has already been monitoring our calls and watching our movements for at least a decade, and we've obtained documents stating this. Bill C-51 just means the federal government no longer has to hide their deceit. We've shared many of our Protected C documents with both federal and provincial governments, RCMP, a senator, and so many others while seeking out answers as why we were put into hiding, and my father was never charged. And it's the Government of Canada's website describes Protected C documents as extreme grave injury to an individual, organization, or government. So the Harper government could no longer deny having a hand in destroying our lives. We were creating whispers in hallways and had paper trails leaving scorch marks on desks. They hadn't realized evidence of their corruption had survived. So the federal government arranged a conference call with a parliamentary lawyer. We never received the scheduled call and have no idea what Harper's intentions were. And Harper's team is still in our shadows, waiting to silence any signs of justice. So why has the federal government gone to such lengths to silence us, and why am I still answering to someone else's name? The knowledge that was shared with my mom by the federal government and the information she has coincidentally forgotten has led both of us to receive forced identities. Mom can never open the safe she carries on her shoulders, but by silencing my family, the Canadian government has murdered my childhood. After being torn from our family only to emerge as someone else, we never received any financial support from the federal government. I have lived where rats scurried under the floorboards. Human feces have clung to the wall, and there have been so many times when sitting in a hospital waiting room has been safer than my house. We've been so hungry we've lived off eating food samples from grocery stores, and we've had teeth removed because there's no dental coverage to repair them when you're a nobody. And arthritis is riddling both our bodies, but has begun crippling my mom, which is a parting present from my father's abuse. We have no coverage to cover her medication, and my father has never been financially has never had to financially contribute to my upbringing. For whatever reason, the federal government has pardoned him of any crimes and being held responsible as my other parent. So whoever I am not, I am case 52, the non-existent girl with no records of ever really being anywhere. Our only livelihood is pulling weeds and cleaning, and we live in an old camper with no hot water and a bathroom ceiling that cries when it rains. What has my father done that makes him too dangerous to take to court, but he's safe enough to live in your community? The federal and provincial governments have brushed us off and told us that it's a legal matter and we need a lawyer. So since they will not help, we are going public and we are asking our fellow Canadians to represent us. The monsters are not hiding under our bed anymore. We as Canadians have elected them. Steve Blaney, you said that we need to be the voice for all the women and children. Well, Steve, can you hear me now? Everyone, Harper, can you hear us now? Thank you.